Good evening, and it is evening Central Time Zone. It is Pacific, where I am in hot ass Las Vegas. Welcome to another edition of Folks Talking Sports. Houston Roundball Review presents Folks Talking Sports. I am KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me is Andy Yanez from Pawd Slama Jama. Colleague Willie Gibson is finishing up vacation with his family, so that's why you don't see him with us today. I think he'll be back with us next Sunday. Mr. Yanez, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How hot? What's the temperature in Vegas?
115, 116, something like that. Breaking records. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, at least, is it humid? I'm sure it's not humid.
It's not humid, but it's so dry it messes up my eyes and my nose. So that's why I can't do much. I'm learning a lot about myself that dry heat, very dry heat, like 20% humidity is not good for me. So some of my friends
probably used to it.
Are out and about with they're out and about enjoying Vegas, and I'm not. So, but it's all good. All right. Your thoughts on Big 12 Media Day? I think you and Dan had a show. What were your thoughts on it?
Yes, sir. I mean, let's start with Commissioner Brett Yormark. And I don't know exactly when he introduced this phrase. I don't remember. I know he specifically mentioned it in September when he visited the University of Houston campus. Open for business, and it seems that he's been obviously the big phrase that got a lot of buzz when he initially said it, but he's had the same response to it for the past year. He's been open for business. Doesn't necessarily mean we're open for expansion. We're open for looking at all options on the table, and of course, when it comes to the new additions in Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU, of course, the biggest thing from Big 12 Media Day was being able to welcome them to be a part of the Power 5 and kind of welcoming in to the Big 12 Conference, and a little bit of shots, not necessarily from Brett Yormark, but just from some different people affiliated with the Big 12. I believe it was the deputy commissioner. He has the deputy in his title. Yep. Talking about Texas and Oklahoma and about them potentially, essentially, what he said is the move for them to the Southeast Conference, to the Southeastern Conference, SEC, because they prefer to lose to bigger brand names such as Alabama, as to compare to if they would have stayed in the Big 12 and still lose to Big 12 opponents. So there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of shade being thrown across, and just future visions for the conference, of course. And then when you localize it, looking in from the Houston perspective, Brett Yormark is a big fan of Houston Cougars men's basketball with Kelvin Sampson at the helm. Something that came across.
And Joe Mendez, thank you very much for your comment. I'll post that right here. Got a lot of fans. I'm going to see. I thought about this after the fact, but I'm going to play a clip. It's 2 minutes. It's 1 minute twice, but in the middle of it, you hear Commissioner Yormark basically saying, "Can you run it back, please?" It is the Big 12's new countdown of their eventual brand, but this was debuted at the first day one of day 2 of the Big 12 Football Media Day. Yes, I was there as part of the Houston Roundball Review because I'm branching out as part of what the media group does. But here is a clip. Check it out.
We started at 12, running 11 deep, and dropping downs since 9-6. Back when the Big 8 met the Southwest, to countless wins later. And if we're talking hardware, have 7 Heismans, count it. With 6 by the net, or 5 on the floor, we got the power. And to the new 4 coming our way, welcome. This is for the 4 years to make your mark. Whether it's a 3 with 3.1 on the clock, or the biggest 2-point play to inspire a generation. One thing's clear, we've always been ready to 12.
You know, I love that spot so much. Can you play it again for me, please? One more time. Thank you. You got my back? You got my back?
We started at 12, running 11 deep, and dropping dimes since 9-6. Back when the Big 8 met the Southwest to countless wins later. And if we're talking hardware, have 7 Heisman's. Count it. With 6 by the net or 5 on the floor, we got the power. And to the new fort coming our way, welcome. This is for the 4 years to make your mark. Whether it's a 3 with 3.1 on the clock or the biggest 2-point play that inspires generation. One thing's clear. We've always been ready to twirl.
What are your thoughts on that, Andy Yanez?
It's a big time production, and you gotta love Brett Yarmark adding in there that he wanted to run it back and hear it twice. They actually played that during the ESPN broadcast whenever they were doing Big 12 Media Days. I'm not sure if that might have been a part of it, because when they played it the first time, the ESPN broadcast didn't necessarily have it full screen, and then when they played it again twice, it was completely focused on that. So that could have been another reason, but I think it's good for the Big 12, and something that Commissioner Yarmark reiterated whenever he did the Q&A with media. And it's really about celebrating the remaining schools that have been a part of the Big 12 Conference, and of course welcoming in the new 4. And every time he would also say, thanking Texas and Oklahoma for what they contributed to the creation of the conference. Being political, Brett Yarmark it's got that down pat, but it, again, big time production. It's a real good video, very good quality.
And I was sitting pretty much in the middle of the big screen, and that was one of the few times that the Wi-Fi and everything worked. Because first day one, Wi-Fi was not good for any of us. And so fortunate, that's why I had to use my phone. But the Wi-Fi was not good. It got better. I'm not sure if it was because of less people being there on day 2 or not. But yeah, the Wi-Fi was the biggest problem from a lot of the media in attendance there at Jerry World. But it was good. Commissioner Yarmark had a Q&A. You touched on the deputy commissioner interview I think he did with John Kurtz. And he touched on why the Longhorns, in his opinion, left the conference to lose to better quality opponent than lose to Iowa State. And that's what he said. Rather lose to Alabama than to Iowa State. But one of the things I heard, a couple of things I heard, and this is for Joe Mendez, Tony M as well, and folks watching us on Twitter and on YouTube at Houston Roundball Review. All signs point to Colorado joining the Big 12. That has not changed. I was told that weeks ago. Heard it again on Wednesday that Colorado is going to join the Big 12. Timetable could be as soon as the end of this month that Colorado will return. Well, could I say return to the Big 12? I guess you want to say, since they were part of it, before they left to go to the Pac-12. But it sounds like they will be coming back to the Big 12. And then we'll see who comes with them. That's less certain. But just what I said right there, what are your thoughts on that? Colorado coming back to the Big 12.
Colorado coming back to the Big 12, it's been kind of like the golden goose this entire summer. There's been a lot of noise around it. There's been a lot of, whether it be social media, so you take everything with a grain of salt, but there's been a lot of noise, rumors, and innuendo that it's just a matter of time until Colorado, they're kind of the first domino that comes back to come back to the Big 12 and really ushers in what you would imagine an avalanche potentially with more schools, because you'd assume if Colorado's the first one to jump ship from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, then others probably aren't too far behind them. And I don't know if you can necessarily connect the dots, but there's just been a lot of weird things when it comes to realignment. And just look at what happened with San Diego State and their whole situation with the Mountain West Conference, and whether we didn't officially say that we were our intent to leave the conference, but there's a lot of crazy things going on with conference realignment. It was brought up again. Commissioner Brett Yarmark didn't go into anything. He said all options are on the table. If it creates value, that's the big kind of key phrase that he used for the Big 12's existing members, and they will do it. And I believe, in my opinion, that I think Colorado most definitely would be able to add value, especially when you look at it right now, where that program is right now from a football standpoint. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that program because of who the head coach is in Deion Sanders. And of course, just looking at it from a time zone perspective, being able to add Colorado, which is much closer to BYU, which could potentially be beneficial in that aspect. I'm not sure how far away Colorado is from BYU and to some of the northern Texas schools, even to Oklahoma State. So I think it makes sense from a geographical standpoint. And like Joe Mendes said, bring on primetime from depending on how fast potentially Colorado could end up being a member. It could even be, from a outside perspective, looking at it, localizing it to Houston, if they come relatively quickly, there could potentially be a football reunion with some players that left and joined Colorado.
Mr. McCaskill, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be something if they join soon enough for Alton to play former teammates. I'm sure the guys, the Cougs, they would circle that date if that were to take place. I think some UH fans and alums would as well for if a UH Colorado football game
By the way,
was on the docket. Go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but Nate Hinton really is going off in this summer league game. He's helping the Rockets get into that championship summer league game. I think he's up to 20 points in the third quarter, and he's all over the place. But I digress.
No, good for him, because I was getting text messages from colleagues and alums about Nate Hinton trying to get that contract. Salute to him. What is it? I think it was. How long has it been? Because whenever it was, I said he was
when
2 years away from being 2 years away. Yeah.
It was 2020. It was after the 2019-20 season, so it was the 2020 draft.
So I thought it was a mistake then. I thought he should have come back.
He would have been a junior had he come back.
It's taken him this long to keep grinding. Salute to him. Commend him for continuing to pursue his dream. I'm not sure today's performance helps him maybe earn a contract, a two-way, or I think the Rockets have one more two-way deal because the new CBA teams can carry 3 guys on two-way contracts. So if that's the case, maybe he can be the third player to get a two-way deal for him, stay in town. I mean, Nate, I'm not sure. I'm watching the game. Okay, his summer league. I'm not sure how he's getting his shots, if he's knocking down threes or if he's doing hustle points. I mean, that's part of Nate's game, just getting hustle and playing good defense. He's always done that, diving on the floor. The last part I saw about today's game was he got stepped on in the privates by a Utah big man who hung on the rim and was just like clueless that he didn't see Nate or forgot Nate took a charge and landed under the basket. And the big man, he caught the pass from his teammate who ran into Nate. And like he forgot Nate was there on the floor underneath him, and he came down, took his hands off the rim, and his big size, whatever, 17, landed on Nate in that area that all men know hurts like hell. So that's when I turned away from it and got ready for the show. And then Nate's scoring and lighting it up, and good for him. Hopefully he can stay. And G League bounce around, but the Rockets are so deep now. I'm not sure. He might make the 15, be the 14th, 15th man.
Earn a contract somewhere. One of 30 teams.
But good for him.
I digress. Sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to cut.
No. Akib said Marcus just scored 40.
Oh wow!
40. In our group going on. Our group chat on Twitter, he sent a message that Marcus just dropped 40. So Marcus did his thing, and the Rockets are playing for the championship game of the summer league, and Detroit was playing for 6th, 7th place, whatever they're doing. But they both play today. I think they're playing the same time as well, or their game just ended for the Detroit. Who knows? Y'all see how much I'm spending covering summer league. But it's good for Marcus, good for Nate. I hope that the announcers refer to both of them. They both played for Houston. Sometimes in the broadcast, Nate Hinton learned from Coach Kelvin Sampson and that coaching staff and player development, the Houston Cougars, and Marcus Sasser played for Houston and that great staff there, Coach Sampson. So it's good for the program as well. And who was it? Who was a part of the group chat who was it yesterday was saying Marcus wasn't shooting well? Who
I
was it?
believe it's
Aki?
Haku. I believe so. He must have
Well,
somehow seen the chat. He
so
must have
maybe
heard it.
yeah, because what was he said Sasser dealing with injuries. It was Friday. He asked if Sasser was dealing with injuries. Well, he just Marcus wasn't shooting well. The shot wasn't falling. I guess the shot fell a lot today. Good for them. Good to see the two of them shine. All right, I hinted at this before we started the show.
Correct.
Going to say this to you on the air, Joe Mendez, Tony M, anyone else watching us on Twitter at Folks Talk Sports, and also on Houston Roundball Review on YouTube as well as Facebook.
Be sure to hit the like button on YouTube.
Definitely. And tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about Folks Talk Sports. Had a good hit there from my Hasaan Hypolite clip comment that Hasaan, I think I have it. I'm
Oh,
going to
most
try to pull it up.
definitely. The folks on the Folks Talking Sports Twitter, and that
Yep.
see, Houston loves that. They love that blue collar culture. That's Houston blue collar. They love it.
So yeah, I don't think I have it on my laptop, but yeah, Andy, if you can, see if you can pull
I
up
can pull it up
on
real quick.
Twitter. I'm not sure how strong the volume would be via share screen, but the news I wanted to share, and this surprised me. And let me say this: everyone who follows this show, follows FTS, knows that I have been, continue to be critical of UH football coach, head coach Dana Holgorsen. Okay, they know that hasn't changed, but based on what Chris Pesman said to Alan, how are you doing? Alan's busy. Alan Tran he comments on a lot of different YouTube shows, so just glad that he's part of this one as well. But I digress. Chris Pesman basically said in an article, Daily Cougar, that the administration has not done enough for their non-football men's basketball sports, and they're going to invest more in other sports. Pez said that a successful season, football season, this year in his eyes would be going to a bowl game. Okay, that's 6-6 minimum. That's 6 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Scuttlebutt I heard in Arlington was that if Dana does not go 6-6, 5-7, 4-8, that he'd still get fired.
Really?
Yes. And that surprised me. This wasn't from Pez. Okay, let me be clear on that. This is from people connected with the program saying that if he does not go and win at least 5 games, so that's even less than Pez's 6 wins for a bowl. But if obviously if he doesn't get this, if the Cougars don't go to a bowl eligible, that he would get fired. He would be fired.
Well, Chris, to that I say I'll see it when I believe it, and I'll also say you look at the schedule specifically when you talk about non-conference, and I know that we've brought it up, and UTSA, that big one. Ryan Monceau has said it for Gokus.com. I think he said we're going to learn a lot about the direction of the Houston Cougars football team game 1 and how they come out and how they look against UTSA. But when you look at the non-conference schedule, for all intents and purposes, they're a Power 5 program. They're in the Big 12, first year in the Big 12, at home to kick off the season at TDCU Stadium against UTSA. On paper, you would think that Houston, you should pencil that. That should be a win. Just looking at it from that standpoint, they play Sam Houston and they play Rice. That should be 3 wins right there. Should be. Chris,
right.
You agree?
Agreed. Should. Okay. I think it'll be 2. But yes, go ahead.
So right there, you're already halfway there. Now all you have to do is not be on the basement of the Big 12. It's not unreasonable, especially when you play West Virginia and you play UCF and Cincinnati. UCF is right now, again, what is it, July 16th, heading into the training camp before we even start really gearing up for week 1 of the college football season. But I think you could reasonably put UCF ahead of Houston. I think not many people argue with that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, they're in a rebuild. They're in an interesting transition phase as well.
Yep, they were picked by the media 13th to Houston's 12th. So yes.
So on paper, again, that should be 1 win. So we're at 4. They play West Virginia, which is picked to be the worst team in the Big 12 conference. Correct?
Right.
That should be another. It should be a win. And to add on top of that, that game will be in Houston. Correct?
Right.
Now, last season, they played Texas Tech. You can't take what happened one year and paste it over on another year. It's just different team, different circumstances. Not going to happen again. But Houston very well should have beaten Texas Tech a season ago. I don't think.
And that was a message said repeatedly at media day. Yes,
By
they
who?
should have won that game. By the Cougs, by Dana and the players. We
They
should have won
should.
that game.
Fourth and when I can't lost count how many times I said 4th and 20. You get a
Yes.
stop on 4th and 20.
Yep.
You win the game. And again, you never know. That could ultimately it could be a completely different season because then they're going 2-0 heading into their first home game against Kansas. And who knows? Maybe just from a momentum standpoint, it affects the course of the season. So they play them. If they can beat them, that right there, that's 6 wins right there. Now let's look at some of the other potential toss-ups. Now, toss-ups, you look at some of the other games. I think, obviously, going based on my guarantee.
I think
that's going to be a big
that's a
game.
win. Your guarantee. And
Well,
folks who don't know, he says Andy has said that the Cougs will beat the Longhorns on Saturday, October 21st. So much so, he said it on Pawd Slama Jama. He said it here on Folks Talking Sports that he,
on the
Andy
lunch break
Yanez,
as well.
Guarantee.
and on the lunch break on Thursdays as well, that Houston will beat the Longhorns Saturday, October 21st at TDECU Stadium. So that is how many wins? 6, 7? What is that?
If we're counting Texas, that would be 7. So and this is very well looking at it at an optimistic standpoint.
Mhm.
They go 3-0 non-conference. They beat UTSA. They beat Rice. They beat Sam Houston. They go up to Lubbock and they do what they couldn't do a season ago and beat Texas Tech. They take care of business against West Virginia on a Thursday game, on a Thursday night game. Now, Houston, it's not even going to be a short week for Houston because they have a bye week in between Texas Tech and West Virginia. So they'll have relatively good rest heading into that game against West Virginia. It'll be at home. And then, like I said, home against Cincinnati. And of course, we mentioned Texas.
All right, let's do it.
7 winnable games. Well, 6 winnable games for sure, in my opinion. Looking at it on paper on July 16th.
Okay. I agree with Ryan regarding the importance of the game, the season opener against UTSA. I think they're going to lose, and the Cougs will lose that game. But if they, assuming they win that game, let's go down the schedule. I got it right here. UTSA. You say W. Correct?
It should be a win. Yes,
no question. At Rice, all of us.
Oh,
all of us should be a win. No,
you should never lose to Rice,
agreed.
Especially now
in football. In football, should not be a question. No question. The Big 12 opener for the Cougs, September 16th versus TCU, as part of game 1 of 4 of the Big 12 homecoming kind of thing. We're doing events. They're making the games for the new members events like Thursday through Saturday, doing different things to promote
they call
the
it
new members.
homecoming,
something like that. Yeah. But marketing, promoting the new programs, the new members of the Big 12. Loss, win for Houston.
I would think it would be a loss if you look at it on paper, but even then, that TDECU Stadium will be packed, and TCU could potentially be a little bit transition. But right now, on paper, I think that's a loss. So that at that point, they would be 2-1.
Okay, 2-1. Sam Houston State.
That should be a win. That's no excuse.
Okay.
You cannot lose to Sam Houston. That's probably worse than losing to Rice.
3-1. Next, in Lubbock. And that is going to be an emotional game. Texas Tech is going to induct Mike Leach. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. And I think Cliff Kingsbury in their Ring of Honor, Red Raider Hall of Fame kind of thing. So they're going to honor both of them.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. That could potentially be a factor from an emotional standpoint for the Red Raiders, but I still think that if you pick them right now, if we're looking at it from an odd standpoint, I think that game is much more of a pick 'em. But I just think Houston, they should be able to go in there and win.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what the odds are,
And
but
I would guess it would be pretty close to a toss up. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Texas Tech would be favored because they're at home. But looking at it from
in terms of you could be right, but in terms of preseason predictions, there's some chatter about the Red Raiders competing for the possibly winning the Big 12. I can't.
I
I
don't
can't do
see
that.
that,
I just don't trust their defense. Period. But it'll
especially
be
after
one of
they
those
just lost their
teams to
best
be up there.
defensive player.
Right. Okay. In Lubbock, I'm gonna say a loss. All right.
Okay, that would put them at 3-2, and I could see that. Honestly, that game could go either way.
Okay. West Virginia,
That needs to be a win.
it needs to be for sure. But their West Virginia head coach, he he was speaking from his chest at media day. He said we would not be last. We will not be last, folks. Media, you guys don't know what you're doing. We got a lot of transfers coming in who won at other places, veterans. We will not be last. We will be better than predicted. Okay, still a home game for the Cougs,
On extended rest.
and it's a blackout game. So Cougs should win that game. Okay, that's 4-2.
4-2.
Next is your matchup.
Yes,
It's the
sir.
guarantee against the Longhorns.
Correct.
That's 5-2.
If we're looking at it from my standpoint. But Chris, what do you think? What do you think about that game? I don't think I've heard your opinion on that game.
I think the Longhorns are going to stump a hole in us and just run all over the Cougars. That's what I think. But because I don't like the Longhorns, I'm going to pick the Cougs to win because I don't like them. But logically, that's a game the Longhorns should win.
Oh, no doubt. I'm not looking at it from a.
But yes,
that's not.
I'm not guaranteeing it like you are. Like whatever the line is, I take the points at minimum. I take the Cougs in the points.
Oh, I know Texas is going to be favored in that game, and whenever that line comes out, you know what? I might as well go put everything on Houston. No, don't do that. Don't listen to gambling advice from me.
So after the Longhorns.
Oh, look at that in the trend. He says Houston in a blowout.
Yeah, Allen. He proudly wears his Cougar tinted glasses. Proudly wears them. He sees everything sports related in a Cougar with a Cougar vision. Okay. At K-State, that's a loss.
Agreed.
At Baylor,
should be a loss.
Should be a loss because it's a road game. Okay, so that's 5-4 via Andy Yanez. Right?
Correct.
Okay, next, homecoming Cincinnati.
That should be a win at home.
So that makes him bowl eligible right there.
Correct.
All right. Then Oklahoma State.
I think that's a winnable game at home. Senior day. Now, their senior day didn't matter a season ago, but I think that's closer to a toss-up.
Okay, so 7-4, and then at UCF to close out the regular season.
That's going to be a loss.
All right, so that's 7-5.
Optimistic viewpoint.
So 7-5.
Assuming they go 3-0 in non-conference.
That's the key. The key is the season opener. UTSA sets a tone. Frank Harris against Donovan Smith. Well, assuming Donovan is the starting quarterback. And that's also one thing Coach Holgorsen said at media day and also has said with media sessions with the local media, Houston media, that the quarterback battle is, it's 50-50. He wants them to continue competing until it's time to announce a starter. So competition is good. And the Cougs are getting better in the sense of depth, talent, being good enough to compete for positions. So that's an improvement on the roster. The roster is getting more talented. So practices are getting more competitive. So guys are having to earn their spots, just not being handed to them. So,
Correct.
Okay. Tony M., what do you say here? You say, can we just get 5 wins, please? Well, Tony, we
If he's insinuating he wants them to only get 5 wins for a specific reason.
is that a reason because of what I said a few minutes ago, Tony? Is that why you're saying that?
Yep, there you go.
There it
He
is.
confirmed it.
There it is. Yep. And let me add to that what I said about it. I was surprised to hear it from 2 different people. Two, people I respect who know more about college football and the program UH football than I do. But they both said it, that they've heard it from different people, different sources for both of them, that Dana's job is not safe if they don't win at least 5 games this year. Even though I trust them, I'd still be surprised if it happens.
Like I said, I'll see it when I believe it. And first of all, that's a big. Looking at the schedule, I think it's reasonable to see that they could very well be. They could get to 6 wins. It's not that tall of a task. So maybe in a sense, it does make sense that they can't get to 6 wins with the non-conference schedule they have. But again, I'll see it when I believe it. And you want to know why, Chris? Because of the history in the past, and specifically looking at some other programs like you alluded to at the beginning of the show, the non-revenue sports.
Oh, no question.
It could be different with football because of how much revenue and how much expectations, and just how in general there's much more of attention to the program. But I don't see it.
I don't see it. I mean, the buyout, I'd have to look it up in my files. What the buyout would still be that Dana would be owed.
Oh my God. Nate Hinton almost had a 3 first of all, he was talking to Dwayne Wade in a cutaway second. Then he just did a spin move and almost hung in the air and hit a contested layup, but he just missed, and the Jazz got within 6.
But and one of my buddies just said NBA TV because the Sasser game, Detroit, Indiana, was on NBA TV. One of my buddies texted me and said that NBA TV had a highlight package of Marcus Sasser buckets today.
Wow.
So
good for Sasser.
Good for him. Yes, definitely. And folks who were chiming in didn't see it.
Package too.
Yeah, who didn't see it. I think I said it on FTS a few weeks ago that Marcus Sasser would be a Detroit Piston. I said that before the draft. And Marcus Sasser is a Detroit Piston. And I think he's going to have a long, successful career. And to all those folks, I think I said on my last talk, Houston Rockets show, I said, wouldn't it be great when Marcus Sasser helps Detroit win its 4th championship and that win comes against the Rockets? Yes, it would be great. I think that would be outstanding. So, but I digress on that as well. Oh, yeah. So let me pull up and see what Marcus did in the game. But yes, I believe when I see it. I'm not sure Pez likes firing coaches because he hasn't done it yet. I think in his time here, firing coaches. The Cougars have to fall on their face. I mean,
agreed. And we kind of alluded to that in Pawd Slama Jama. Like it has to, the wheels have to completely come off. And honestly, it probably, even if they were to lose to UTSA, I personally think they would have to either go winless or only get 1 win in conference, and even losing a Rice would do it. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's gonna happen. It's not realistic. So
the talent level for football is better. They got some Big 12 talent. Heck, they got some Big 12 transfers to come to Houston. So the talent level has improved.
More motivated. I think they're definitely motivated. What was one of the quotes? Which, by the way, Chris, I also have the Hasaan Hypolite clip. If
go ahead and play it, but also Patrick Paul. Patrick Paul said that they got a huge chip on their shoulder.
Exactly.
So maybe that will help these guys surprise some people.
Is it on, Chris? Let me know when I can play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
To be completely honest with you, at our university, I think it's a little different than a lot of universities. We don't really make NIL a big deal because at the end of the day, we were surviving our stipend checks before that. So like, we blue collar workers at the University of Houston. We're not out here for all the glitz and glamour, all these dollar signs and all that. At the end of the day, we chasing the dream. So if you accomplish your dream, the money gonna come. At the end of the day, we fell in love with the people. We ain't fall in love with our logo, you know.
So again, Hasaan Hypolite.
We blue collar workers at the University of Houston. That's right. That's one thing the board man, Justin Gorham, said, that we're not blue blood. We are blue collar. That's the Houston Cougar mindset for men's basketball. And I think it is in athletics. So Hasaan said it, and I put it on there on Twitter, and it blew up because it is, heck, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mr. Yanez, but I think we live that as well. We are blue collar. So this is who we are as alums. It's just part of who we are as well. We grind. We try to do more with less because that's how we were raised,
And
but
just
also,
UH alumni in general, they didn't. It's not like some other schools up north. Let's put it at that.
Yep. But I'm looking at Marcus Sasser went 16 for 25 today, 5 for 9 from 3, made all 3 of his free throws, which he's been struggling from the line as well, what I've seen a few times in Summer League. So, yep, he scored 40 points in not quite 30 minutes.
Dang.
So that's good for him. And let me see, turnovers, he had none. That'd have been an issue for him as well. So good for Marcus. I hope that helps quiet some of the Piston fans who were, oh my gosh, y'all said Marcus can shoot. All I'm seeing him do is go over 7 for 3. Y'all sure he can shoot? Well, there you go. So Marcus said. So cool on good for him. And Detroit finishes the Summer League 4-1, so he can end the Summer League on a high note. So salute to him. I don't know. What did Oscar Thompson do? Did he play today? I don't think he did. He did not. Wow. So Detroit rested their 5th pick in the draft and relied on their 25th pick in the draft to get them the win today. So, yep, Marcus Sasser carried Detroit in their 20-point win over Pacers Light. I don't see if Jarris played in the game today for Indiana. He did not. Jarris did not play for the Pacers. So, but there you go. And the Rockets are minutes away from advancing to the Summer League championship game. So I'm sure some Rocket fans are looking forward to banner raising for winning a Summer League championship.
Would they put that in the Toyota Center, Kris?
I sure hope not. I really hope not. They better not put up that kind of trash. That's just as bad as putting up a division banner. Please, whatever. But I digress on all of that. Okay. Thank you, everybody, watching us here on Folks Talking Sports. If you missed it, we're talking about UH in their first Big 12 Football Media Day. Andy just played the clip from Hasaan Hypolite, letting everybody know that UH is a blue-collar program. It's a great comment, great clip. A lot of pride in that clip. Patrick Paul told me, my interview with him, it's on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, at Houston Roundball Review as well. They have a big chip on their shoulder, and he goes by Pat Paul. His Twitter is Patrick, but he goes by Pat. So everybody call him Pat Paul. But yep, and I forgot the other guy's name. I talked to Nelson Caesar, Jack Freeman, right? Jack was there, right? Yeah. He's
correct. I think he was the only
blue collar guy as well. Talking to all 3 of them, vets, longest tenured guys with the program. Alan, thank you very much for your comments. You take care. Come again on this show and other shows here on the YouTube channel. Always great to hear from you. But it was good to see all of them at Media Day. They were proud of the program, looking forward to competing in the Big 12. Let me say this to everybody chiming in with the comments, watching us on YouTube or on Twitter. What do you as fans? Well, we know what Tony wants. Tony, what do you as fans
exactly
of UH, how many wins do you predict for the football team in their first season in the Big 12? And yes, it's just July, so we're not going to hold you to it. You can always change it up until the start of the football season. But make your predictions. How many wins for the UH football this year coming up? Andy has 7. I'm going to say 5.
I think that's their ceiling. I think 7 wins is their ceiling.
Okay. All right. That's their ceiling. I think 5 is my ceiling. I'm still going with 3. I think it's where it's going to fall off. If it's just 3, then he's going to be fired. But I'm going to say 5 is probably on the high. Joe says 6-6 with a bowl victory.
And I think that'll probably end up being the more likely. They very well could end up winning a game that they have no business winning, which I believe it'll be October 21 against Texas. And they very well could lose a game that'll be a head scratcher and it'll be frustrating. So I very well could see 6-6 with a bowl victory. And if that is the case, that's a win. That's a successful season for this year.
Yeah, that'd be what Chris Pesman, qualifies as a successful season this first year in the Big 12, going to a bowl. And that'd be minimum of 6 wins. So I'm not predicting that. I think it's doable as long as the wheels don't fall off if they lose to UTSA to start the season. Because if that happens, the fans will hop off the train.
Oh, from the get-go. And again, depending on how it looks.
Right.
It'll be it would not be a very happy, and it'll be a very ominous start to the season, regardless of what happens to fall. Well, they play Rice week 2, so they better not following out by losing to the Owls. Then that'll really take the air out of that TCU opening day.
Yeah, I completed my preseason ballot for the American football poll today, and for the 14 teams, I have Rice going. I think I picked Rice 11th. I think that's about right, 11th. So
really,
Rice.
I think Rice could do a little bit better in the American.
But see, I thought so too. And I looked at everybody else. I mean, UTSA and Tulane are the top 2 teams in the conference.
Agreed.
SMU is up there. I think Memphis is up there. You still got Tom Herman, Florida Atlantic. He might surprise people there. So there's some other folks that are like, wow, the conference might be better than people think. So that's part of it as well. And media, my buddy D Skills texted me that the Big 12 is claiming Marcus Sasser because they're tweeting some of his points in today's game. So the Big 12 says 2 of the 40 for Marcus Sasser, the highest point total in this year's summer league. Actually, it's just 1 bucket, but they're referencing his 40-point performance. So how about that?
I just saw it. Most definitely, they retweeted the Detroit Pistons tweet. So they're claiming Marcus Sasser.
So there you go. Hey, that's what conferences do. Oh, and also if you're just joining us later and missed it earlier, I'm going to say it again. I was told while I was at the football media day for the Big 12 that Colorado, all signs point to Colorado returning to the Big 12. Could be as soon as by the end of July. We shall see. Ironically, Pac-12 Media Day is this coming Friday, July 21st. We don't expect a media deal to be announced before then. Monday, you mentioned it earlier about the Mountain West and San Diego State and that disaster. The Mountain West is meeting July 17th to determine what they're going to do with San Diego State. I think they're going to just kiss and make up. And
wouldn't it be something if they didn't let them rejoin the conference?
It would be a shock if they did that. It would shock me tremendously. I think they won't do that. I think they'll invite San Diego State. They might say pay a fine, pay a couple $1 million, you can come back. And then if you're back, you'll be back this coming season, and then 24, 25 as well. And then maybe they'll leave, and join. But heck, they got to get invited first. They have nowhere to nowhere to join right now because no
If
invite.
you're San Diego State, and they just say, I think I agree, Chris, with you in terms of that potentially not being likely of them not being allowed to rejoin the Mountain West. But what if they don't? What if Mountain West says, you guys wanted to leave, you're not welcome back? What does San Diego State do then?
Take them to court. There will be lawyers then if that happens. So, and that's the reason why I don't think the Mountain West will kick them out, because they want to avoid the legal drama and legal fees and court fees and all those things. So they'll kind of split the baby and say, okay, you can come back, or well, you say you didn't really leave. We kind of believe you. So just to make it good to us, we're going to give you back the 6.6 million we withheld, but out of that 6.6, give us $2 million, and we'll just say everything is forgiven. I think that's probable. But what about UConn? UConn is not. And Andy, what should we say? Should we say Autonomy 5 as a nod to Michael Resco? Or should we say Group G5 and the Cougs are now Autonomy 5, or the Cougs P5 and UConn is, and the American is, or excuse me, in the Big East is P6 or P7 or whatever? What is it? What should we say?
Officially, they are on a non-autonomous 5 conference, because Chris, that the American has claim to Power 6, to the 6th power conference.
That is true. So that's fair. Okay, so UConn, they're not even P6. So so they're G in terms of TV discussion. They are not a Power 5 conference, so they are not part of Fox Sports and ESPN paying UConn a full pro rata share what the current members earn. UConn would receive less, in comparison to Colorado. Colorado is going to get the pro rata. They will earn whatever the current members, as of July 1st, the Big 12 members get. UConn would not get that because they're not a power program, not in a power conference. Basketball, obviously, they are. But I heard from different folks, did not really want UConn to join the Big 12. But some folks said, but Brett wants UConn in the Big 12. So Commissioner Yormark wants UConn in the Big 12. But a lot of other folks don't want UConn in the Big 12 because football was good last year under Jim Mora. What if, as a flash in the pan, what if football is not good at UConn this year? Or what if some other program hires Jim Mora after this season and they return to stinking in football? So what are you weighing? UConn football, are you making them being relevant consistently? Or are you just simply saying it's the Northeast market and the Big 12 wants to be coast to coast and getting UConn would help accomplish that? What say you?
No, I think specifically looking at it, if it's Brett Yormark pushing for it, I think it's very, very hard to ignore the basketball component of it. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest draws. Possibly, obviously we don't know what Yormark's thinking, but I would say that's probably one of the biggest factors why, if he indeed is one of the, possibly the only driving force for UConn to join the Big 12, that's got to be one of the biggest reasons for wanting to have the Huskies in the conference. When it comes to football, I can absolutely see why, again, looking at it from the bigger perspective, why across different programs in the conference, they don't necessarily see the value that they would add, even even if it wasn't a flash in the pan season, I still think they would very considerably be far behind any of the other programs in the Big 12. I mean, West Virginia is picked to be last in the conference, and I think West Virginia is clear cut head and shoulders above UConn from a football standpoint. So there's not necessarily much value in that from the gridiron perspective. But then looking at it looking at it from the basketball side of things, that's going to be a point of emphasis under Yormark, and I think we're
Mhm.
already seeing it. This was Football Media Day, and Commissioner Yormark still brought up the international game that Kansas and Houston are going to be playing in men's basketball in 2024. I think you can clearly tell that's a big priority for the commissioner for the conference to have and potentially add value in that manner, being able to not just be a conference that solely focuses on football, and I think that's a big reason for it.
And UConn football has not been great in recent years. They did earn a spot to the Orange Bowl years ago, part of the Big East. But Rutgers football was poor for a long, long time. But the Big Ten wanted them because of the market, because of the demographics. And some folks say times have changed. What's more important, the brand or demographics? UConn basketball is a brand, is a national brand. Football obviously isn't. But in terms of in the future, the next media rights deal for the conference, if Commissioner Omar gets his way and is able to split up the money, have a contract for Big 12 football and another contract for Big 12 basketball, you got UConn basketball part of that package. That's money.
You're just adding to an already
You know,
powerhouse of a
that's
conference.
additive right there. UConn
Most
basketball,
definitely.
men's and women's basketball, that's additive for your conference. Football, I mean, right now it's not. But what could UConn
Potentially,
do
if
if
it
they
has
had
Power 5 resources.
yes. So I I'm leaning toward I think it's and I forget the writer, his name, he covers UConn for the New Haven Register or the Hartford Current, one of them. He thinks it's inevitable that UConn will be, if not the Big 12, in the ACC. And I'm not sure why they want to join the ACC because that's, I think, a sinking ship
Hmm.
in due time. But he thinks it is inevitable that UConn will be in a power conference within the next 5 years. If it's 5 years, it's got to be the Big 12. If it's 10 years in ACC, who knows what is the ACC at, after 10 years. So that's a little scuttlebutt I heard while I was at the Big 12 Football Media Day. The note about Dana Holgorsen, if they don't win 5 games, these folks said Dana might be in trouble. That surprised me, but I'm putting it out there. Chris Pesman said to media at Media Day, and he said it locally as well, that in his opinion, this first year for Houston in the Big 12, a success would be going to a bowl, getting to a bowl. I think 6 wins. Andy Yanez said that's doable. Joe Mendez, Tony M, anyone else watching us on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook, Andy says that is doable. Getting to a bowl game is doable this year for the Houston Cougars football team. We will find out starting on what's the first game of the season? September 2nd?
Number 2, correct.
Against UTSA. I think that's going to be a loss for the Cougs. I think it's gonna be a competitive game again.
It cannot be a loss.
It'd be something, wouldn't it, for
It most definitely would.
the Big
Not be
12 member lose to
an American.
the American.
Somewhere Mike Oresco would be smiling if that happened.
He would, but
grinning from ear to ear.
last year it was Conference USA beating the member UTSA beating Houston in the American.
Well, close, but Houston pulled it off. They were able to walk away with a win.
They were close. So We shall see. In the final score, the Rockets advance
Houston's
to
going
the
to the
Summer League
finals, Chris.
championship game. Water is for everybody. Water is for everyone. The
Who are
Houston
they gonna be
Rockets
playing in the championship
advancing to the championship game against Cleveland or whoever else. I really don't know.
Nate Hinton had 27 points, 5 steals, 3 assists, and 5 rebounds on 9 of 16 shooting. Hit 4 threes in the win. Big game from Nate.
There you go. Clifford came through. Cam Whitmore, 9 for 17, 4 for 11 from 3, 4 assists while Cam passed the ball. No, that's a good sign. He had 25 points. I wonder if he got some of those assists from Nate Hinton buckets. But there you go. I'm not sure who the Rockets will play Monday, I think 8 o'clock Central Time for the Summer League Championship. They're going to play Cleveland, I believe. I think Cleveland and Brooklyn were also the two 4-0 teams on the other side of the Summer League bracket. So, yes, get ready, everybody. Pop the champagne or pop the water bottles. Rockets. Oh, see, we need Willie Gibson here to give a scouting report of the Cleveland Cavs Summer League team to prime the matchup. The huge Titanic tilt taking place Monday evening in Vegas for the 2023 Summer League Championship between the Summer League Rockets and the Summer League Cleveland Cavaliers. I am so not excited whatsoever about that. But all right, Andy Yanez, these closing moments. How can folks find you on social media, sir?
Yes, Chris, I appreciate, as always, for allowing me to be on Folks Talking Sports and allowing you to use this platform, share it with you. People can find me on Twitter at @Ayanez_5 and also Pawd Slama Jama on YouTube and Twitter at Pawd Slama Jama and other social media outlets, Instagram and TikTok at Let's Rage Cougs, all lowercase Let's Rage Cougs.
And I'm on Twitter still for the time being at the HR Review, but more importantly, more and more on threads at Houston Roundball Review. Website, of course, HoustonRoundballReview.com. Since 1994, Houston Roundball Review. Local name, Global Perspective. And to close it out, going to play the Big 12's new countdown promo spot. 2 minutes, the clip twice. Here we go. This is from the recently concluded Big 12 Football Media Day that took place last week, and I was there. Check it out.
We started at 12, 111 deep, and dropping downs since 9-6. Back when the Big 8 met the Southwest to countless wins later. And if we're talking hardware, have 7 Heismans, count it. With 6 by the net, or 5 on the floor, we got the power. And to the new fork coming our way, welcome. This is for the 4 years to make your mark. Whether it's a 3 with 3.1 on the clock, or the biggest 2-point play that inspires generation. One thing's clear, we've always been ready to 12.
You know, I love that spot so much. Can you play it again for me, please? One more time. Thank you. You got my back? You got my back?
We started at 12, 111 deep, and dropping downs since 9-6. Back when the Big 8 met the Southwest to countless wins later. And if we're talking hardware, have 7 Heismans, count it. With 6 by the net, or 5 on the floor, we got the power. And to the new fork coming our way, welcome. This is for the 4 years to make your mark. Whether it's a 3 with 3.1 on the clock, or the biggest 2-point play that inspires generation. One thing's clear,